Hi, I'm Todd Froemming, and I'm here with Janelle Riley. We are former diehard GP users who have been working in the Business Central space since it was first launched in 2018. In this video, we will show you the new features, automated processes, customizations, and some improvements that even the most reluctant migrator from GP will enjoy. We'll start with a few slides that contain some useful information that will probably save you money, and then we'll log into BC and show you some of the features our clients use the most. I think you're really going to like this. Janelle, would you like to start?
You bet. All right, let's get going then. Uh, all right, so this is the agenda we're going to be following, our top 10 list of things that you're going to love when you switch from GP to Business Central. You're going to save money, you're going to have better security, you're going to have a lot of functionality for being able to build it out and make it your own. You won't have to deal with batches or hung up batches anymore. We have options better than SmartLists. You can customize the interface. You can import your own data, and you can actually use other types of things that Microsoft offers, such as integration with Excel, integration with Outlook, integration with Teams. And then also at the very end, we'll talk a little bit about Copilot, which is Microsoft's AI. So number one, save, save, save. It's actually true. You will save money moving from Business Central to or GP to Business Central. So there are a number of promotions that are out right now. The primary one right now is something called Bridge to the Cloud. The Bridge to the Cloud 2 promo has been extended through the end of 2025, 12/31/2025. The way it works is you just keep paying your annual GP renewal, and basically you get your BC licenses for free. There's some math around that. 90% of our clients get all of their Business Central licenses for free. Some may have to pay a little bit extra depending upon the situation, but almost everyone does get it for free for 3 years. The main thing to remember about that is to make sure that you watch the month of your annual GP renewal and elect it that month. Make sure you're talking to your partner because it will cost you more if you don't do it in the month of your renewal. There are a number of other ways you can save and cost savings as well. So for example, there are things like there are apps, we call them extensions in Business Central, and apps, there are like 6,500 of them out there that you can add to Business Central. And instead of GP, where you got to go install on a server, you got to have IT involved and do all this other stuff, actually you just click a button and it installs for you. It's literally that simple and that cheap to do. You also get 3 free sandboxes with every production instance. So essentially, if you do Bridge to the Cloud promo, you can get all your GP, plus you get a production environment of Business Central, plus 3 sandboxes to play around in with Business Central. Let's see. There also, you're going to do some cost savings. You're going to have some cost savings, obviously, because you're not going to have servers, server maintenance, licenses, power, space, and all of those kinds of things that you need to have with servers. So all of those costs go away. And then the other really major thing is upgrades are automatic with Business Central. What that means, you don't have to go ahead and do these major updates every 2 to 4 years, like you do with GP, where it costs you a lot. Instead, they're incremental every 6 months, and you can actually control the big releases that are happening every 6 months, and so you have some flexibility. You don't have to take everything at once when Microsoft pushes it out. So that's what I've got on saving money.
The other thing you get out of BC that you don't really have in GP without some help from IT is you have the security that you need, right? It's more secure to be in the online version of BC than to be on an on-prem server. The reason we say that is because you have Microsoft Azure security and compliance. So you have HIPAA compliance and all the others that you could possibly need built right into the system. You also have multi-factor authentication and a web-based single secure sign-on. That is really nice. If you're signing into other Microsoft products, you can also sign into Business Central if you have the license for it. Here's the big one: no VPNs and no remote desktop. I don't know how many times we've had clients have issues with logging in from a hotel because their VPN's not working, or the remote desktop is locked up, or they're stuck in a session, all that stuff. It's just not there anymore. You don't see it. The other really nice thing is there's apps for Windows, Android, and Apple. So really you have a secure environment on whatever device you want, wherever you want to use it. Janelle?
Yeah, let's talk about building it out. So with GP, GP is a black box, right? you get what you get and you adapt your processes to fit the software, right? There really isn't much customization potential without paying a huge amount of money for it. So what you end up doing is pilfering fields from other places to make it work for you, right? We don't have that in Business Central at all because it's a development platform and we can completely build out on it. So for example, if you have to add a new field, and you typically will do that using Extender. Okay, that's great. But it's a little bit awkward. You know, another window pops up, you got to click through it and all that kind of stuff. Business Central, you can actually just, a developer can add a new field for you, a new text field in 15 minutes. And then you can go ahead and use that field however you want. You can name it wherever you want, and you can put it in the system wherever you want. But going beyond that, we do huge amounts of development on Business Central that we never did when we were on GP, and we don't do for our GP clients. So another thing that we can do is go ahead and do a lot of integration work. So with GP, you know, you have to have something like Smart Connect or some other similar tool that you use with GP. With Business Central, we can use Smart Connect, but we typically do build custom integrations for people so that they don't have to have middleware in the middle of it. Also, BC has thousands of apps to choose from. Actually, it's 6,500 as of right now. Those apps are on the extension marketplace, and the marketplace that Microsoft uses, a lot of people don't realize, is called AppSource. So if you search for AppSource, you will find that there are apps to apply to Business Central, but also Office 365, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you know, Teams, all of those kinds of things. So that really extends your capabilities with the system.
And if you're fairly new or you just started using VC or you're thinking of using it, you heard of Extension Marketplace. That's what AppSource used to be. It was Extension
Mm-hmm.
Marketplace. So those are the same thing.
Yep.
Okay, let's move to the next one. This one's really big. No more batches. And I'm not going to say that you can't process in batch, but there's no batch hangups, no hung up batches. All those issues you have with GP where data gets hung up or lost, or you can't get into a sales order and do work. All the things we see all the time in GP, they're just gone because there is no data maintenance. There's no check links. There's no reconciles. Here's a couple things that a lot of people don't even do. No remove completed POs, no paid transaction removal. All your entries are saved when you enter the entry. If you get partially through an entry, lose your internet connection and come back in, you're right back where you left off. There is batch-like processing. Through lists and workflows, you can process things in groups or batches, if you want to call them batches, for review and posting and things like that. But you don't have to actually use a batch and post an entire batch. Janelle, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, the only thing I would say is from our perspective, as a partner, weirdly, it's impacting our financials, believe it or not, because we actually, when we were doing a lot of GP work where they're starting to kind of move over to Business Central, we actually made money off of it, which think about that. That's just wrong. We should not make money off of clearing up hung up batches and database errors for our clients. We don't have those. It's the weirdest thing when you switch to Business Central. You just don't have errors. It just doesn't exist. So this is a really big deal.
Right. So why don't we go into Business Central and show you some of this? All right. I'm going to first show you how easy it is to log into Business Central. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You can just use the app, which is really simple to use. I don't use the app very often because I'm logging into multiple environments all the time. But if you have one environment where you're logging into Business Central, you can just log directly into the app and go from there. The other thing you can do is I close the app. And again, it's just a shortcut like you're used to for any other program. I can go into a browser. And this will work on an Apple browser, on I think that's still Safari, on Edge, on Chrome, on Firefox. It doesn't really matter which browser your preference is, it will still work. Here I'm logging into our video demo company. I can also log into another company at the same time. And one of the reasons I like, let me go back to a new tab and do that. One of the reasons I like Business Central and using the browser is I can open up two different companies or open up duplicate a tab, do whatever I want to do that, like I'm using my browser normally, and I can just drag things off, put them onto my other screen, and still be able to look at two things in the same company at the exact same time. It's really nice to do. So what I'm going to show you here, I'm going to go back to this one. There's easy way to copy companies in Business Central. It's a little scary, and I'm going to show it to you because there's an easy way to delete companies as well. Again, this is all permission based, so you can block who has access to do this. But when you think about it, when you've ever had to refresh a test company for GP, you have to get IT involved, right? They have to find the backup, they have to restore it, or they have to make a backup to, maybe you're trying to resolve an error that happened today. You have to get a backup, you have to restore it, you have to get into a test company and try and do that work. Or if you want to test something new, you have to do jump through a bunch of hoops to get there. In Business Central, all you need to do is go to companies, find the company you want to copy. The only restriction is you can't copy a company that you're in, and then hit copy. It'll pop up, prompt you for some things, what's the name of your new company? It'll warn you that this is going to use some system resources, and you probably will want to do it outside of business hours or when you don't have a whole bunch of people working in the system, because it might slow them down a little bit. I've seen that slow down a little bit on larger companies. This could take 10 minutes. It could take 30 minutes. It really depends on how big of the company is that you're trying to copy. Right next to copy, though, is the scary part, is the delete button. It will ask you if you want to delete it. And I believe if I hit yes, it's going to ask me again. And it might ask me a third time. I'm not going to hit it, though, because I don't want to delete this company. I don't want to go any farther than this. Again, you restrict this through permissions, and you can use permissions in BC kind of the way you're using them in GP, but I think they're a little bit easier to manage in Business Central than they were in GP. So I'm going to get out of there so I don't run the risk of getting into something I don't want to be in. Oh, I guess it's your turn, Janelle.
It is. Yay. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen then. All right. You'll need to close out, Todd. There you go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And I'm also looking at the demo environment, but I'll be clicking through my piece of it. One of the biggest questions people have for us when they're moving from GP to Business Central is, I heard there are no smart lists. I don't think I can get along without them. And I get that. I mean, Todd and I moved over to Business Central and started doing Business Central in 2017. And back then, that was one of my biggest concerns, and his as well. We were very worried about that because you know what? We used it all the time internally at our own company, and all of our clients use it extensively as well. And our fear was, we're going to lose this and we're not going to be okay with it, right? Now, I will honestly say, whatever it is, 8 years later, I don't miss SmartList at all. I never miss SmartList. I never go, oh, I wish I could use a SmartList to find this. So that if that gives you a little bit of comfort, great. I'll also show you what the alternatives are to doing SmartLists.
And
So
what's funny,
yeah,
I'm going to interrupt for a second. What's funny
yeah.
is I thought I was really going to miss it because I did a lot of work where I was
Mhm.
troubleshooting for clients. And I would use smart lists a lot to try and find out where data was, what was going on, what was happening in the system. But I don't have those things that I'm troubleshooting anymore. So I really don't miss smart lists.
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. Well, I'm going to go back over to the customer list, and I'm going to show you some of the quick query things that you can do. Now, if let's say that I wanted to find sales invoices by customer. That's a classic smart list. Almost everybody who does sales invoicing has a smart list saved for sales invoices by customer, right? Well, in Business Central, that's not required. Why? Because I can find it easier without having a smart list. So this is my list of all my customers that are in my system right now. And from this list, I have these little fact boxes that fly out from the right-hand side. For Cathedral Hill, if I just want to see sales invoices by Cathedral Hill, I literally just go to posted sales invoices, and here they are. And I can drill back, pull up the invoice, and take a look at it. So it's really simple and it's only one click. With a smart list, it's more than one click. So this kind of thing is much quicker. I can do this with vendors. I can do this with items. I can do this with, multiple things where I have the master records where I have this flyout, this fact box on the right-hand side. I also I want to show you one that's an interesting one for items. This is one just giving an example of what it's like to do development. This quick quantities is something we give to all of our clients. We just give it for free. And what it is it shows at a click, I can see my quantity on hand. I can see my open purchase orders. I can see my open sales orders. I can see what my production components are out there, my assembly components, all of those kinds of things with just a single click, right? And so this is something we developed and give to our clients for free. Why? Because on any item, they can find what they need to do with just actually looking at the main screen. Another thing with Business Central that's interesting is the way that you find things. You search instead of you navigate. It's a really weird thing. And we know because we have many, many clients that have moved from GP to Business Central. And at first, for the first week or so, they navigate over here. They go to finance and go, oh, I'm going to look at my chart of accounts. I'm going to enter a general ledger entry. I'm going to go to my bank account and take a look at my bank account. Within literally days, they quit doing that. They navigate one of two other ways. Instead, they bookmark the ones, the windows they're most interested in and have those on their bookmarks, or they do a quick search, general journal. And there I can see general journals and I can pull up and look at a general journal. It's that quick and simple. This is because it's contextual search, which was built up by Microsoft, similar to what they have with Google or Bing, right? Even if you spell it wrong or don't quite know the words, it's going to find what you're looking for. It also goes even one step further than that and actually can search in your company data, not just for Windows. So here's an example. This is a bookstore that we're running off of our sample company. It's a bookstore, and it has some books that it sells about T-Rexes, right? Because they have kids' books there. Or they also, the name of the company is also Worm Book Readers. And so they have various items that they sell, et cetera, that are from Worm Bookstore, okay? So if I go into search and I search for T-Rex, let's pick that guy. Or Rex, let's just do Rex even, because I don't know how I'm going to spell it. And I search company data, it's going to go out there and find everything with T-Rex. In fact, all the way to the level, remember, this is SmartList, posted sales invoice lines. Classic. Everyone uses that one, right? I can see all the results and I have everything with T-Rex, all posted sales invoice lines for any customer anywhere that I can filter. Or I have purchase invoice lines, right? So it's really easy to find data within the system. So let's talk a little bit more when we want to do some quick list views. I'm going to go ahead and look at that for a moment. So one of the common smart lists that people look for, like I just mentioned, is posted sales invoice lines, right? Because you know you want to find out who has bought this particular item on which sales orders, right? Posted sales invoice lines. Well, what I've done is I've actually created a shortcut here to posted sales invoice lines. And I did that by hitting this little bookmark. I can do that on any window in the system and then save them all on that main screen so that I can get to it easily. So I have posted sales invoice lines here. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of my way. So now I also can create basically favorites like I do with Smart Lists. So here's one right here, posted invoice lines by customer. So this is posted sales invoice lines by customer, right? And I can filter, slice and dice, whatever I need to do with that. Let's say if I also want to filter it further and do it by date, I can do posting date. Let's just do 1/1/24 to 12/31/24. And now I'll have just the 2024 posted sales invoice lines. So this is essentially my favorites. But one good thing is, you know how occasionally you'll hit that limit of 4 searches or 4 filters on SmartList. You don't have that limit here. It's unlimited number of filters that you can apply. And then I can say by customer, by date, and I can go ahead and save that. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do it. Now I've got it by customer and date. Also, I can personalize, and Todd's going to show you a little bit of this later, but I can also add different columns just like I do in SmartList. So let's say I'm here and I want to add a field to it. Actually, I am going to go ahead and go back to all here. There we go. I'm going to add a field to it. And now I can add all of these different things to it, just like I can do with SmartList in GP. So
the other thing is,
oh, go ahead.
the other thing just to add is when you save that, it creates a URL that you can share with somebody else so they can get the same list as you.
Yep. Yep. That's right. So that's actually really important too, that you can actually share it with other people. And we'll show a couple of those things as we go through the demo here as well. So now let's take it one step further. Okay. With GP, if you got a smart list And let's say you've got, okay, we've got all of our sales from by customer from January through December 2024. Okay, so that's what I've filtered right now. I'm going to remove it and just go leave it wide open right now. So if you wanted to go and add this up, what would you do? You'd export it to Excel, which you can do. Open Excel in Business Central. And you would go ahead, export it to Excel, and you'd foot it, right? And then you might pivot it. But what Microsoft has built in, they've built in the footing and the totaling as well as the pivot tables into the system itself. And it's surprisingly helpful. I use it frequently myself personally. It really works great. So let's say that I'm working with this, then I can move this over into Analyze. And what that does is it switches it over to a table look, kind of like looks like a SmartList, right? Except what's cool about it, I actually have total quantities, total amounts, whatever I want to total in there in terms of the fields that I can add up. Well, so let's say I want to take it one step further. Oh, and by the way, I can drill back to these transactions just so you know as well. Let's say I want to take it one step beyond that, and I want to actually see sales by item. Now what I can do is I can take my item number, move it down here. Now I have sales by item. And in fact, I can see the number, the quantity, and the amount of each one of those, right? Sales by item. And if I drill back into it, I can see this is my T-Rex, the Gentle Giant book, and I can drill back to any of these transactions and look at them and see what is going on with those transactions. Okay, so let's say I want to take it even one step beyond that. I can move it into pivot mode. Well, now let's say I want to see sales by item, but also by customer. I can go ahead, put that into my columns just as I would with a pivot table. Now I can see for customer one, they bought 131 of the T-Rex book for a total of $2,600. Pretty sweet. I could take it even further than this. I can actually copy the link and message it to anybody on my team. And guess what? It'll be accessible to them. They can actually go ahead and bring the link into Business Central and be able to work with it. I can duplicate it. I can open it in Excel as well. So it's a pretty cool feature that's available. And you think you can't do anything like this with SmartList. This is one of the reasons I don't miss SmartList anymore. So I think that's the end of it. You know what? I do have one other thing I'd love to show you. I'm going to take it back out of Analyze mode. And in fact, you know what I'm going to do? Just for purpose of this, I'm going to remove that view. Okay. So now I'm going to try one other thing. This is where Microsoft has added AI. So a lot of people don't realize this, but Microsoft actually bought 50% of OpenAI last March. And that also, OpenAI is the company that does ChatGPT, AI that everybody's heard of. What Microsoft has done is taken that information or that data that AI environment, and they've gone ahead and started to put it in their products. Office, Word, Excel, Outlook, Teams, all of those kinds of things. And they brand it Copilot. So when you hear the word Copilot, they're talking about AI. And they've started to build into Business Central. It's still young and new, but I'll show you how it works. Let's say I have this same list and I have something that says, I don't know, show sales by customer. Okay, boom. Now, this would be used by someone who's not a finance person, who doesn't know how to do pivot tables, doesn't know how to go ahead and do all this. There we go. I've got my sales by customer. They can go see them and they can drill back into them. And let's say for 2024. So now they can filter it to 2024. And now I have my sales by customer for 2024. It's a pretty interesting thing to be able to do. These are the kinds of things that you're going to start seeing built up by Microsoft more and more and more. This is something we couldn't imagine doing in GP, right? That's just not something that we can do. So, all right, time to pass her back over to Todd to talk about how to make it look like you want.
All right. So we should be getting on mine here now. All right. So Janelle alluded to this already once. Can you see my screen okay, Janelle?
Yes, can now.
Okay. She alluded to this about personalization. I'm just going to show you a little bit more about that because personalization is more about just adding a column in a list or something that you could do in a SmartList. It's making the experience of entering transactions simpler, more effective and faster. I'm just going to show, I'll go to sales orders like Janelle was in. And again, I'm going to go through in different areas than she does. When I do demos, I usually click in because I don't type fast enough, I think sometimes for this search. But I'm going to just show this again. There's a button here for personalize, and you go to personalize, and there's more options than just this is personalizing on an individual level. I'm changing this only for me in the environment that I'm logged into. So say I want to remove a assigned user ID because we don't use that. I'm going to hide that. But if I want to add a field, say, let's pick one here. I'll do it this way. I want to add the due date. So I'll just search for due, and I'm going to pick due date, and I'm going to move that up into next to the document date. Now I have something that when I'm done with this, I have the list the way I want. And then again, I can filter just like Janelle did, or I can actually search for, I'll pick 11/6/24. And all my 11/6/24 transactions with due dates of that date show up and appear automatically. This search feature in list is really, really nice. If I don't want to see them all again, I just delete my filter. Everything comes back. You can search by invoice number, PO number. It just finds the field, and this has gotten better and better over time as well. It finds the field that you want to search in, and it just pulls it up for you. It saves a lot of time and effort. There's other couple ways that you can personalize. One of those is you can personalize through design. And what this does, this allows you to make basically build your own little program in the background that changes the design for everybody in the company. And what you need to do is build it, save it, and then have your developer or your partner put that information into your environment and install it just like another extension or something that you might have gotten from AppSource. But the thing I want to show you, it works the same way. You can add fields, move things around, things like that. But what it does is it lets you see what it's going to look like on your phone, and you can build it to make it look like you want it to look on a phone screen, or you can make it look like you want it to look like on a tablet. Because don't remember, you don't have to use this on a computer. You can use Business Central on whatever device you're using. All right. I'm going to just stop designing and not save this here. And then I'm going to go into, I think I'll go into items, and I'll pick that T-Rex item and just show you this. How you can make things look the way you want. Oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to go into a sales order. Think about it in GP. When you go into enter a sales order right now in GP, you're tabbing through a bunch of fields that you may or may not even use, right? All those fields in the header you have to tab through, or you have to tab through three of them, click into one. When you're on a line, you need to tab through all the fields that you don't need to see and use because you can't just get rid of them. In Business Central, I can do whatever I want, right, with this view. And there's a show more, like here's an example. There's a show more and a show less feature. Well, if I don't need to have Bob show up here anymore, I can just personalize. I don't need my salesperson on the header. I can take this out and just do hide. And now I won't see Bob as a salesperson anymore. I don't have to click through that field. If I'm not using requested delivery date and I don't need it on the header, I'll just only show it. I'll hide that one as well, right? A lot of things you can do on the line items. The one thing in Business Central is the lines can get pretty long because you can put a lot of information here. We've got some clients where you're scrolling quite a ways to get to the end. You can move things so the most important information is at the front, and you kind of see this is organized the way you'd probably want to see it. But if I don't use contract service and vendor contracts, so I don't need that, I'll hide all those. If I always want to see the part that I'm using, I can go in here and I can, oh, I have a freeze pane on it now. I'm going to clear my freeze pane, but I can also set a freeze pane, right? Quick entry is really neat. If you want to include it in quick entry, it'll tab from one field and skip to the next quick entry field. So all these pricing things that fill in automatically, I can skip right from entering the item all the way over to quantity to ship if I want to set it up that way. Really powerful, an easy way to make things look the way you want. Now, probably don't always want to just let people personalize things exactly the way they want. There's a couple reasons why you don't do that. If you have custom fields and they have to be in the header and entered in a certain order for your dimensions to populate correctly, you probably don't want to let people move things around. You can restrict this using rights. You can also just set it up so nobody can personalize, and then you can do it through other options like just custom dev, or you can do something called a role. And Let me look this up. They just changed this, started calling it profiles in October, so I'll probably call it roles forever. I can go to a role, and these look kind of familiar if you're used to GP rights, right? You've got team members, you've got sales, you got sales manager. They're kind of the same. They have a role for like AP clerk or clerk. Here's a clerk one. You can go into these roles, and I'm just going to pick. I will pick Office 365 sales activities, and I can do customized pages here, and I can change this so that this is just like doing personalization, and you see it looks pretty familiar. I can do the exact same thing here. I didn't want to start it. That's interesting. There's probably something else going on in our demo environment in the background. I'm not going to make any changes anyway. But you can make these changes and you save them, and everybody that's assigned that role will have the same view. That's the way I like to do it. It just makes things a little bit cleaner. It's a little easier to do than to have to install an extension, because when you install those extensions, every time there's an update, you have to make sure whatever you built doesn't conflict with what that update is. And the fewer of those things you have in the system that you have to manage, the easier it is when upgrades come in. All right. Um, it just doesn't like this, does it, Janelle?
Nope.
Anyway, I've showed everything I need to show anyway, so this will clear out while she's sharing her screen.
All right, I'll give it a shot here. All right, do we have it? Good. All right, we're to number 7, by the way. Gets better all the time is the name of that one, is what we call it. So let's talk a little bit finance here. I'm a CPA, so I always like to talk about the things that are helpful for finance people. Let's talk about the chart of accounts. All right. So the chart of accounts in Business Central is different than it is in GP. It is a dimensional chart of accounts as opposed to a segmented chart of accounts with GP. And I'll try to explain the difference because people get really confused by it, especially GP people, when they've never used a dimensional chart of accounts. I will tell you honestly, dimensional is way better than segmented, without a doubt. I didn't realize dimensional existed 10 years ago, but now I know, and I would never go back. Okay. So when you look at the chart of accounts for GP, what you're going to see, or for Business Central, what you're going to see is the account number is all there is. There's no segment in here at all. So it's a lot more flexible. There are a lot fewer accounts that you'll see in the chart of accounts than what you're going to see in GP. If you're a nonprofit organization, governmental entity, or someone like that that has a complex chart of accounts, it can get insane the number of accounts that you'll have out there, right? This makes it a lot simpler to work with. But then what you do is on top of the accounts, you actually layer dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and search for dimensions. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. In this sample company, I have 3 dimensions. The first one is my department. So these would be roughly equal to segments. So if I had this in GP, I would have the main account segment. I might have a department segment, a line of business segment, and a project segment. The department segment would have admin, HR, IT, marketing, R&D, sales, blah, 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 right? The line of business dimension would have, in this case, it's a bookseller, it's a bookstore. We would have books, stationery, glassware, clothing, food, other. That would be that segment. And the last segment would be project. This case, they do some project work on the side where they do some extra training programs and things like that. And so they would have values to that. Now, what you can see is they're separated as opposed to the segment. Let's say that I have a line of business. These are my line of business segments, books, stationery, glassware, etc. If I was in GP, let's say I decided to sell toys. If I was in GP, I would add a value of 70 onto this. And then I'd have to go through every sales and cost of goods sold account, maybe inventory if I want to split. Do it separately. I have to create a whole pile of accounts to be able to segment for the toys department. But here, all I have to do, toys, boom, it's in there. That's all there is to it. And so it makes it much, much simpler to add the dimensions. Now, I also have controls that are built into it that make sure that I'm going to hit the right accounts. And I don't want to spend very much time on that, but I'll just mention an example of that. In the sales, if I'm hitting sales and I'm looking at my dimensions for sales, maybe I'm doing a sale. No matter what, when I'm hitting sales account, I want to hit the department sales because obviously they're the ones that are doing it. And I'm going to require that dimension. So I'm going to say, no matter what, that department's going to be sales. Now that is attached to this account, which means that anytime someone posts something to the sales account, it's automatically going to put sales in there. If sales is not in there, it's going to give you an error and say, you're missing the department dimension. It's required to be sales and it's not there. That's your control that's put into it to make it, to be able to handle it. I'm also going to show you real quick what it looks like in the general ledger. So if you do a general journal entry, here's a sample of what it looks like. So you get the idea of the difference. So in this case, I'm amortizing my prepaid business expenses on the books warehouse. Well, since it's the books warehouse, I have a special warehouse. I'm going to go ahead and hit the books line of business for it. So that insurance expense hits that line of business. And I'm going to hit the operations department. So it hits my operations department. I don't happen to have a project for this one. When I post this, it's going to go to that line of business, that department, and it's going to go to also to the account 73,000. So that's how it's
Hey,
going to get
Janelle,
into the system.
can you show them
Yeah.
the preview post on that?
Oh,
It's
sure.
just kind of a nice thing to
Absolutely.
have.
Yeah.
When you're posting, you can actually preview posting, and we see a lot of clients use this when they first start out because they
Yep.
don't necessarily trust it.
Ah,
But what it does, it's okay. It'll
yeah.
show you what you're missing when you're going
Yep.
to post that transaction
In
before
this
you try and
case,
post it.
in
That's
this case,
exactly what we want to see.
it's a sample company. And it turns out because the sample company were in 2025, this was built in 2024. It doesn't have it open. So you would have to open up the period in order to post it, just
But
like you do with GP.
right. And the other thing is the errors are very clear as to what it is
Yeah.
in most cases. It's not something that's really generic, like SQL error XZVWZ, where you have no idea what they're talking about,
Or it'll give
right?
the table number
Or the
and you're
table
like, I
number, and you're
don't know
going,
what
yeah,
that
I don't know
is.
what that table number is.
Yeah, that's one thing Microsoft is spending a lot of effort on even now is making the messages and the errors make sense to people so it's easy for them to do. But yeah, that quick view is really nice. That view preview of posts so you can see what's going to happen and confirm that there aren't any errors in it before you go ahead and try to post. Let's do a quick view of financials. I'm going to show you a couple things that you can do with financials, which are kind of sweet, honestly. This one, when I first got out of GP and went to Business Central, like, I don't get this. The chart of accounts actually has total assets and liabilities, total liabilities. It has my equity, even has this year's earnings into it, revenue, cost of goods sold, the whole thing. Like, that is really strange. Now I use it and I'm like, this is sweet, right? I don't have to go to management reporter. I don't have to go anywhere to run a financial statement. It's literally in front of me right now. I'm going to go ahead and remove this filter. And what I'm going to see is balance at date and balance. This balance is what it is as of today, but I can actually filter by 6/30/24, which is one that I had in there, 6/30/24. And what it is my checking account at 6/30/24 was 182. My checking account today is 247,000. I literally have a full balance sheet here and a P&L, and I can see it all, and I can drill back and go, what were my office supplies? Okay, there we go. That's my office supplies. So it is just so easy to work with to just be able to look at it from that level.
And there's no refresh time.
Yeah, it's just
You
like
make a change,
now.
and you have to go to management reporter, wait 6 or 10 minutes for it to come in. This is immediate. It's really
Yep.
nice.
It is. It works great. The other thing that I'll do is something called analysis views, and I love these as well. So analysis views is a feature that allows me to be able to analyze and see my P&L like in a columnar format. So let's say I'm going 2024. All right. And I want to go ahead and see this by period, which is happens to be by month. So now I can show my matrix, and this is my P&L by month, just built out, totaled up, added up, and I can drill back and see what caused those entries, what those entries were, and I can drill all the way back to those entries. Where this is helpful is if you're trying to reconcile accounts, you're like, what is in that account? You've got it like right here in front of you. And I can even take it one step further and go, let's say I want to only see that P&L by the books line of business. Boom, there it is. Books line of business, and I can see what happened in those sales. So that's that. This is really, these financial tools are really nice for quick queries for financial people. The very last thing I want to mention is master record changes. So let's say I set up office supplies expense account 76,000. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go to items. That's a better items. People mess up when they set up items. Happens all the time. And in fact, I have one right here, T-Rex the Gentle Giant. Notice how all my items have 4 digits, but this one's 5 digits. Okay, that's a mistake. I'm just going to go ahead and switch that to 1,000. Keep in mind, I have to have security. It's going to say, are you sure it might take a while? What it's literally doing right now is changing that item to 1,000. It is rolling it through everywhere in the system where that item has been used, including posted transactions. And now item 1,000 is throughout the entire system without using PSTL, without doing master record changes like you do in GP. Again, this is one of those things you manage with security, but think how often people make mistakes on item numbers and how easy it is to fix it, right? That one's a big time saver. So I think we're ready for Todd again.
So that explains why my part number changed to 10,000 while I was looking at it before when I was prepping for this. It's like, who changed that? She broke my
Yeah, we were
system.
both working on it at the same time here.
Okay, there's some other things, you try and you want to do your job sometimes in GP, but you need help from other people, right? If you need to do an import or you need to make some bigger changes in the system, like the one Janelle just showed, that's a pretty major change. You don't need to really contact anybody to do those things anymore if you have your permissions set up the right way. So I'm going to show you a few ways that you can manage data in the system and import your own data into the system. In GP, you go old school, you had to use like Integration Manager or Smart Connect or eConnect or something like that to connect to the other information. And you call that like the middleware, right? There's something in the middle. And what we invariably see is on these integrations, sometimes it's not the GP side of it that's wrong, and it's not the e-commerce site that's wrong. It's that middleware just not translating things the right way. Well, Janelle said this earlier. We can develop it so you skip the middleware altogether. On day-to-day work, though, there's a few things that you can do. And I think I'll go to the items list again too here. I can export. I'm going to show you. You notice how this says blocked here. You can see this works just like Excel, the way these fields work. But you can see I have none of these items blocked for sale, right? Well, say I want to block 15 items for sale. I
By
can
the way, that
edit.
means inactive in GP. Blocked,
Right.
inactive.
Yep.
Same,
Yeah.
yeah, different
Yeah.
vocabulary. Yeah.
So I'm going to go in here and it's going to open up this list in Excel. And I'll enable editing. It takes a little bit to load up depending on how big your list is, but that's kind of to be expected. You're basically transferring everything to Excel, right? It's not too bad. And now I've got this list. If I want to change several of these items to be blocked, I can make this true. I can just move it down to as many as I want to block. I can click publish, processing the 8 changes. And if I go back out of this now and hide this, and I refresh my screen, and this is just a refresh of a tab, just like you normally would do when you're in the web version. All those items are blocked. You see how simple that is. Again, you got to be careful, right? Because you saw how Janelle just changed that one item number. You can change all your item numbers at one time. You can change the item category code. So think about it in GP. A lot of times you had to go to each one of the items that you want to change a feature on the item. Here you can do it all in one spot and just update everything. Really
The one
slick.
good, the one thing that's really nice about Edit in Excel is it actually obeys all the business rules. It has all the accounting controls built into it. It has security built into it. At the beginning, when he popped that up, it actually authenticated Todd and went, "Who is Todd? Todd is the guy that has rights to go ahead and edit this table. We will let him do it. Okay, is that field editable? Like, is it a posted transaction? No, it's not a posted transaction. So yes, it is editable and it'll update everything just as it should."
Right. That's really important to know that what you have rights to do in a window is what you have rights to edit. Right.
Mhm.
You don't have to do anything separate to get that to work. All right, so we made that change. Another really big deal, and this has really come in handy. And when we first started using Business Central, I was like, oh my God, this is like the best thing ever. It's called configuration packages. This allows you to create your own export and import packages and bring data in and out of your system or change data or edit it. Kind of like works like the edit in Excel, but you have a lot of control over it and you have access to all the fields in the system. I'll just pick one that, while we were in items, we'll go back to items. So here's my item list. There's 143 fields available in the item master table. And I don't need all of them. So what I can do is I can go to the number of fields included. I can select the ones that I want to use. Just to show you how many are in here, I'm going to clear the filter. Again, very familiar interface, right? It's just like Excel. And you see the ones that I have included and all the other ones I can choose from. So if I wanted to add something, I could add it. If I want to remove something, I can remove it. This is really nice. To create one of these, you don't need to know the table number. I can go in here and say, I want to add another import on this same table. And if I don't know what it is, I'm just going to search dimensions since Janelle's used that one quite a bit. I can see all the tables that are labeled with dimensions. So I'm just searching for what I need. I've rarely run into one where I can't figure out what it is. If I know I
Mhm.
want to pull some like a vendor item, I can find vendor items. It's just not hard to do. And I don't need to know the table number. I don't need to know how it's organized or anything like that. I don't need to be a database person to make myself an import file that has or an export file that has something that I want to use in it. You can make these as many tables in this file as you want. We have one for setup that's got to have what, 70 tabs? I don't even know.
Mm.
It's really big. So to use these, really simple. If I want to export it, so let's take this. I want to say I want to add 30 new items to the system, but I don't want to type them all in, right? I would export this, enable editing. I would delete all the items so I have a sample of one, more than likely, right? I would just delete the rows that I don't need because I don't want to make those changes. If I delete those rows, I have a sample. I fill in the same information that's on here so I know everything that's required, add my 30 items in, and enable editing on this. That's why it didn't work. Um, and then once I get through that part, I can just import the thing back in, right? So it's really easy to do. Export and import, and the import is import from Excel. Now you can also import in like configuration packages that are more of a database type thing that you can't really view it and see it the way you'd want to. And someone who does a lot of this and really has that understanding would probably use the standard, may use those packages a little bit more. I like using Excel because it's what I'm used to. I like using Excel because I don't need to learn anything new to do it. And the file is there. I can just pick the file that I want to import and it'll ask me to import it. I import it. I validate the data and then I hit OK and then all that stuff comes into my system. Really nice tool, really easy to use. And again, based on your permissions, you're going to want people to do this. If you have standard transactions you enter all the time and a config pack makes sense to do those, you would do them with a config pack. It's really easy to do.
Mhm.
And something, again, I'll reiterate what Janelle said earlier. I think she stole half the stuff I needed to say. Um,
I did not.
but custom development with
Mm.
integrations can be done, right? You can do direct integrations to the tables as opposed to um, having some sort of middleware in the middle of it that's going to cause problems. Makes things a lot smoother, makes things a lot faster, and just makes your life easier. And again, less work to fix on the back end if something breaks. Easy to identify what's broken. Um,
Because we can do that, I would guess I'm pretty sure at least 50% of our clients have integrations built for them. I mean, we do tons of it. And if you added everybody who has customizations, Todd, I mean, 90% of our clients have customization of some sort just
oh
because we can
yeah,
do it. And it
yeah.
doesn't cost that much. So why not? Right?
Right. Again, the other nice thing you have here is you have not just test companies, but you have sandboxes. There's 3 sandboxes that
Mm.
you get. So you can make a duplicate of your environment 3 times and test things. So you'd never install an extension from app source without putting it in a sandbox first. You just don't do it. Well, Janelle's probably done it, but she tends to try things on the weekends
I
that we
do.
kind of regret later. But anyway, but we've got sandboxes for that now. It was a lot bigger issue when we had GP, when things just changed on Monday morning when you came in. So sandboxes are a really nice way to do this and test those things that you want to try out.
For sure. Cool. All right, let's go. We are to number 9. Outlook integration, share to teams. This is how to play nice, how this system plays nice with other Microsoft applications. So I'll show you a couple things that are kind of handy. Here's one. This is an old email that David Florsch sent to me. It has no meaning at all. It just has to do with pricing on Bridge to the Cloud. I'm going to go ahead. I have an add-in for Business Central turned on in my Outlook. So I'm going to log into Business Central. And from here, it's going to go ahead again, authenticating, make sure that I have rights to all this data, et cetera. What I did was I associated David's email address, David's name, with Jurassic Park, which happens to be one of our customers, right? So let's imagine I'm an AR clerk, right? And I'm the person who's responsible for collections. What I can do is when David emails me and says, can I have a copy of invoice such and such, such and such? I can actually go do it right from within Outlook. I can look at the balance due. Here are all their open orders and invoices. I can go in and open them up and I can look at them. If I want to, I can actually pop it out and look at it in a larger screen, or I can just move it around on my screen. This is actually the invoice itself. And I can actually just go ahead and email it over to him, right? So it's really easy. Surprisingly, I can do a lot of things in here. I can actually change the dimensions on it. I can email it to him. I can email it attached as a PDF. I can do a corrective entry on it. I can create a credit memo. Oh, whoops, that shouldn't have been invoiced to him. I'm just going to do a credit memo from here and then email it to him. It's really a pretty neat tool to be able to use. So that's one of them. The other thing that's handy is, oh, and by the way, there's lots of other information I can handle on here. There's also a thing that came out last year, which was Share to Teams. Share to Teams, as of last year, is now free to Teams users. What does that mean? How does that apply to me? Well, here I have Warm Readers Book Club, which is one of the book clubs that are working with uh, with uh, the Business Central, and I am sharing this team site with a bunch of members of my team at my company. What I can do is I can go to apps here. I can pull up Business Central. I can say pin a tab. And what's going to happen here is now I can find basically any window in Business Central and I can go ahead and share it into Teams. So let's say, you know what? I'm just going to go simple. Let's say I'm just going to share the customer list and maybe I want to filter it. But for right now, I'm going to do just the customer list. I'm going to share it to my team. And here it is. It's going to refresh and pull up on the team as a tab. And now the whole customer list is there. But beyond that, it's not just the customer list. Somebody can go and look and see the balance due. They can go ahead, like we showed you, see all their posted sales invoices. Or maybe I'm on the order entry side of things and I want to see the sales orders that are open for the Canon group. I can go ahead and pull it up. The thing is, I'm not consuming a license for this. This is free to anybody in my organization that has Teams. So this can be extremely valuable. One of the use cases of it is a client that does a lot of project work, right? And they use the project accounting module in Business Central. And so what they do is they have those projects all in a list, like the projects that are applicable to a group that are listed there so they can actually see the project financials really easily in Teams instead of having to log into Business Central to see it.
Or
So
contact somebody to get more information from them and interrupt their
exactly.
day.
Or can you give me a copy of an invoice for so and so?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen because it's all free and they can just pull it up. So that's what I've got. It's Todd's turn again. And we are to number 10, Copilot, which again is Microsoft's AI.
All right. And this is the last one that we're going to do. There's more that we can talk about, I'm sure, but
Yeah, there's a
um,
lot.
so Janelle talked a little bit about Copilot earlier, and it's really starting to come in a lot more places in Business Central. And every time they do a major update, it seems like they add more. I don't know if they're tweaking it in the middle on those smaller updates in the middle, but like we said, you never have to do a big upgrade for this. You're getting the new stuff as it comes out, right? For Copilot, you can find the icon and just click on Copilot, and you can get to Copilot, ask questions, things like that. I'm going to go into something, and let's go back to items. We're going to open up the T-Rex where the item number keeps changing on me. Say I want to know about an item category code. I'm just, instead of going somewhere to find help, I'm just going to ask Copilot. And you can see how it looks for item category code in Copilot. This search is getting a little bit faster. It seems like every time I see it, it's like learning or something. I don't know, but it seems like it's getting a little bit faster. Here's my basic information on item categories. I can just see it, right? If I want more details on categorizing items, look at that. It takes me right to the Microsoft Help site. This is that if you use it, the about this window in GP is way more powerful, way more accurate, and way more detailed information than what you ever got in GP. And I actually liked the about this window type of
Mm-hmm.
stuff in GP and the help in GP. I always thought it was one of the better ones I've been in. So you can see there's a lot of different things you can do with that. While we're here, we got this fancy T-Rex picture. I don't remember who drew that. One thing they added, and this was probably a year ago, this might have been the first thing one of the first things they put
Mhm.
in. You can make descriptions for your items based on the attributes that are assigned to the item. And an example of this is we have a client that makes drive belts, and drive belts are drive belts for like snowmobiles and ATVs and things. They have measurements and widths and diameters and all this other stuff. They had to make thousands of these for their website. Well, they put their items in here with the attributes, and they just did draft with Copilot. And you're going to see a great description here that pops up about the T-Rex based on the
Mhm.
information that I had on the T-Rex in the system. You think about how much time this saves, especially when you're just doing detailed, specifications. If the specs are part of the item attributes in the system, it'll just build it for you. And I can change how this looks too. Say that's inspiring. Say I want to do formal, I can regenerate it as a formal one. It'll change it based on what I pick. I can change a different format. I can put a tagline or not. I can make the emphasis be speed instead of whatever no emphasis that I think I had before, right? Really a nice tool, really easy to use, gets you the information that you need. Again, you're going to want to edit it and look at it, but you can keep it and then you can go back and edit it later and look at it anytime you want. Really like this one. I'm going to show you one last Copilot thing that's new, and I'm going to search for bank recs because this in GP, I always hated doing bank recs in GP. I'm just going to delete this one because that was probably one I added earlier. So I'm going to delete the last bank rec I did, and I'm just going to say yes. Okay, so now I have no open bank rec. Look at the Copilot symbol right here at the beginning when you pop into bank recs. I'm going to hit reconcile. Okay. It's going to ask me in Copilot to import my transaction data, which I'm going to do. I'm going to browse for my file. This is just think of it as an Excel file or download from your bank. I made one that will work in the system in our demo company, but it's just your Excel file download from your bank. I'm going to hit open. I'm going to do it through 12/31 because I know that date's okay. And I'm going to hit generate. What the system is doing right now is it's going and matching based on customer, description, dollar amount, date, anything that it can do to match up those transactions. And it matched 71 of 109 lines that I don't have to match manually now, right? I'm going to say keep it and open it up, and you'll see all the matches, right? It matched through July because July is the last date I had in my bank file, my sample bank file. But you can see how simple that is and how easy it was to do. And you got a majority of your transactions matched. The one thing I noticed this morning when I looked at it is it's not like combining totals yet of deposits. So think about it. You put in
Mhm.
5 different cash receipts and it goes as one total deposit on the bank. It's still not taking all those 5 and going, these 5 are all on the same day. I wonder what they total up to. And then does it total up to this total deposit on my bank account? Not doing that yet. That's where it's going though. And if you can think about all those you get with ACH payments and things like that, it's going to just be super powerful when you're able to do this. And just use bank recs, simple bank rec, have AI, have the AI program do it and get everything done for you. Um, there are a lot of other different things available in Business Central that you can look at um, for Copilot for just about anything. And once you get in it, you're going to want to spend more time doing that. We did
Mhm.
get through our 10 though, and that's all we have to cover today. So thanks for taking the time to view this. I know it was kind of long. You try to make these videos a little shorter, but we had so many things that we wanted you to see. If you're switching from GP, we could probably talk all day on it. So
They could.
um, our contact information is provided. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask because we'd be happy to give you a hand.
You bet.
Thanks.
Thank you.